Radio Ward staff.
All right, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of In Touch Entertainment News and In Touch Radio as we come on straight up the middle. I've learned now that there's a distinct difference, Clint, from going straight down the middle versus going straight up the middle. And we want to remind our brothers today, as we come on, I ask one of our co-producers, Miss Anna, what word that the brothers need to hear about and what we need to do. And she said, hey, stop talking and get to work. And Clint, it's funny, I was telling our other producer this morning, this week I talked to a young man and I said, what do OGs need to do to help y'all? And they said, you need to be seen more out and doing the right thing more beyond the partying and the lecturing. And interesting commentary because what Anna feels and what we really need to do from a young perspective, 17-year-old telling you that lets us know that there's work to do. You cannot rest on your laurels. And my dad used to tell me all the time, you put the work in, not to build an image of yourself, but you put the work in to see how you can produce the next man up.
Yeah, you're right about that on the work side. The bigger piece of that is the example you set for other people. I'm always interested in what people are aware of what's lacking maybe in their lives and what they're seeing. But Pete, I would say, I in the world that I flow in, there are a lot of people trying to work hard to make our community better, to try to make our society function a lot better. And on a day like today, when we're remembering 9/11, it's a reflection of you have to always stay vigilant. 9/11 was a national catastrophe, but you can go back through history and find just countless numbers of individual
episodes.
The things that have happened, and I was mentioning 9/11. I want to talk about that today if we have an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about where I was at, and let's do that for me. Let's talk about where we were at on 9/11. If you don't mind.
I can't actually remember where I was because you and I, we all stay so busy. But one thing I did find out this week, I deliberately asked a few people in their 40s, and I went intentionally asked some students from Middleton and from Irvin Tech as they came through. I call it my other office, the McDonald's there on 19. But I deliberately asked them what were their thoughts of 9/11. And you know what was the interesting thing? In both group sets, there was a theme of that America had it coming. And so I asked I could understand the answer I got from the 40 because they're looking at it from as coming through where they suffered a lot being black or whatever the case may be. But when I asked the young lady from Middleton, and she said,
and Middleton is predominantly African American high school.
Right.
Historically, was one of the segregated high schools in Hillsborough County.
And so when I asked her, she said, we learned about it briefly in history, and said, I understand there was a few black people hurt up in it, but outside of that, Mr. Pete, it don't mean nothing to us because we're trying to deal with stuff and issues that we got to deal with locally and continue to deal with. So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
because I've always wondered about the African American response, and are you getting a lot of feedback or volume on your headset, Pete?
No, I just can't hear it coming back in on the headset. But
okay,
we're okay. I'll switch up. But go ahead.
But and I think about the call to action. I was watching last night a show. I've gotten this streaming service with PBS with all the documentaries. So I'm in hog heaven, Pete, because I don't feel the emotional drain watching regular TV. So I go from, you know, living black in Latin America to, African civilization. I just all these great documentaries.
And that's for our kids. That's one of the best documentary streamlining.
Oh, it's incredible, the history. And I was thinking about it. Beginning of the Civil War, the United States Army had 17,000 soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the war, 600,000 Americans had died. So what that said to me, there was an immense call to action. We see that played out again in World War I, World War II, a call to action from Americans. And African Americans responded in all three, and I think 200,000 African Americans volunteered to serve in the United States Army in the Civil War. And so when I hear you say that about these young folks now, and we have to be careful, Pete, black, white, Hispanic, whatever you may be, once you're in America, you're part of America. What happens to America, it happens to you too. And I know we sometimes, have a flavor that or feel sometimes that we're just kind of on our island inside of the bigger country. 9/11 had a huge impact on the entire world.
That's true.
And the fact that someone, and I get young people, particularly high school kids, most of them weren't even born yet.
Mm-hmm.
To not be able to perceive the impact it has on your functionality and the reality that there are people in the world who hate Americans, who will kill black, whites, whatever you are. If you're American, which we just saw again in Afghanistan, all you need to be is American. And there are people in this world who want to do you harm.
But I tell you something, Clint, and this is going to be controversial, and I'm sure.
Flag the tape, everybody. This is Pete talking.
The listeners may want to call in on it. I'm of the opinion, as I've observed our communities, that the call to action in the black community, if it was another type of 9/11 and all, would not be as strong, simply because of the George Floyd issues and everything else. And then now what's complicating things more is that you have some folks, young and older folks, are afraid that the black community will suffer more the way America is opening arms to Afghanistans who will really, they'll kill themselves to kill you. So the attitude on the street is that, hey, you know what? We got all these things coming up against us, and as a young brother told me that the American N, using the N-word, is now going to get further pushback because white America is going to embrace the saying N versus the American N. Now, he's into Black Lives Matter and all like that, and it stunned me, and I had to go back and think, oh yeah, they use the N-word for both. They just call us an American N, and then they call them a saying N, and so people aren't. A lot of young people think that America needs a full cleansing out because of the way they've gone on so long, ignoring about how they treat people and all. And so
that's an interesting dynamic.
I won't be surprised that if a 9/11 came again and what have you, and let's say it hit parts of America where, I give it like this, it hit parts of America like Alabama, Texas, and Mississippi, and Georgia, that is, and maybe Florida too, that is known to have stepped up the increase of hatred and divisiveness between white America and black America. I think you're going to find a lot of black Americans aren't going to be overjoyed to come in and help out the country because they think in their opinion, that it may need a cleansing out because everybody's in denial.
And I think it was it Thomas Jefferson that always said that every now and again you need a revolution to reaffirm what you truly believe in. That it's the sanitizing agent of society. When 9/11 happened, Pete, I was working at a downtown law firm, and I was walking by the conference room, and I saw the news. There was a news bulletin on saying, a plane at CNN has just crashed into da 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 da. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's just an airplane, that crashed. And as we all kind of stood there and watched, the second plane comes in and hits the second tower. And that's when it can start to click that, wait a minute, there's something more happening. And I'd say maybe about an hour or so later, and I was at One City Center downtown, 19th floor, we got the word that the building needs to be evacuated. That everybody is to leave the building, and it's requested that you go home, and, it goes on from there. But it quickly became clear something unusual and new was happening, and we need to take a look at America somewhat different. I'm going to ask anyone, if you're listening today, the call-in number is 888-444-9588.
That's what happens when you come off a tough Friday night.
Anyway,
I'm gonna have to have a little card and say, "Hey."
Yeah, it used to be written right here on my right shoulder. I was looking on the board. They took it down. Yeah, I gotta go remember it.
We need it back. Yeah.
All right, let me get that right. 813-444-9588. 813-444-9588. Also, of course, we're on Facebook. So if you're listening to InTouchNews.com, you can go to the In Touch News Facebook page. Take a look at us there. But Pete, let me go back to what you said about I don't want to confuse anybody out there in this world that wishes ill on America to confuse me and my brother getting in a fight with me and you getting in a fight. We'll battle it out all day long, but if you mess with one of us, then we both gonna have to deal with you. And I really still have a lot of confidence in America's patriotism while we work our way through some of these issues. Now, in the first part of that is what you said. Being visible, active, and taking a part in what's happening in your community such that you're part of the solution and not the problem. That's one piece. You always have to think about, where do you stand with the issue? And here's something I say to my kids all the time. Do not confuse talking with doing.
That's true.
It is not the same thing. Talking is not doing. Talking is just talking. And a lot of what we see on Facebook and internet and the Twitter street or Twitternet or internet, whatever it may be, it's just that. Action is actually getting involved and doing things that impact people's lives, that improve your community, that moves you towards the ultimate goal that we all want, which is a much better society and a community. And Pete, today I'm looking forward to seeing how the country tries to celebrate, because I believe right now the political divisiveness is going to constrict a lot of people who would otherwise be trying to, do a recognition, remembrance of 9/11, and I'm really talking about the Republicans are not going to participate because Democrats are in charge.
Well, look, not only that, as I remind our listening audience and our producers and everybody and yourself, people hide under political labels.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, everybody assumed that all the races are in the Republican Party. Some of the most damaging aspect of improving the black community has been done by Democrats who, because they embrace black upper society women, gives a false impression that they're liberal.
They're progressive.
They're progressive. And that's a big line. We just run from it. But on the other hand, with this country, the devices and all like that, and remember, violence is becoming numbing now. So that's why you compare with the type of memorial celebrations they're having with 9/11 and then what's going on now. I mean, nobody really, it is what it is, and we have to deal with it. So I don't know, when we come back off break and all like that, I asked our community to find a reason to make a difference in your community so 9/11 won't happen. So we're gonna get going to this break, and when we come back, this man next week he's gonna have on a shirt that says USF on one end and FAMU on the other, but he better have on the FAMU shirt. So let's take a break and we'll be back. And remember what Anna said, brothers. Stop talking and get to work. Now, I don't know whether that's going to get you a meal or not. It definitely won't get you paid. But anyway, we'll be right back with In Touch Radio News. And remember that number. Maybe we can put it up during the break. We'll be right back.
This is Kevin from Steppin' with a Vision, where I teach the smooth art of Chicago-style stepping. Join me on September 24th and September 25th as I celebrate 40 years of recovery, and I celebrate my 67th birthday. Yes, 2 nights of dancing and dinner. Workshops on Saturday the 25th if you want to learn to dance at 3315 Lemon Street in Tampa, 912 East Fletcher on Saturday. See you there.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the leg work for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
All right, everybody. This morning on a cloudy day, have high school games last night, and then got a big game today with Florida and another loss for USF against the Gators. Plus, they'll lose next week against FAMU. But I want to remind, if you listen to our advertising on this show, Clint, I heard a brother that's going to 2 days coming up in September, a couple of weeks, I guess, from now, to talk about line dancing and all. But one of the key things that he mentioned in the advertisement, 40 years of recovery.
Wow.
That's, we know our friend Darrell Roussan. Sometimes I agree with him politically and sometimes I don't. But when you have brothers that truly invest in recovery for themselves, for their families, and the community, that's the strength of our community as we try to move forward. And to hear this guy on the advertisement just now, man, it's just sent chill bumps, because I work with recovering addicts and you work with those on both sides of the issue. And so there's all of us can play a part. So we want you to support him. But those of you who are still struggling with addiction, match up with somebody that really has worked hard on the recovery, because one thing they won't do, they won't lie to you. They will tell you the struggles. That's why that serenity prayer is important. Not only for those who are addicted to drugs, but addicted to a whole lot of negativity.
And then, you know, Pete, you bring this is something I know we weren't going to not on our agenda this morning. It is one of the reasons I am so concerned about the proliferation and the casual use of marijuana. I'm just and the doping of our society, be it from the pharmacy down at the corner or the pharmacy in the middle of the block, in the box store. I've always been concerned about that, and it's much easier, a lot less resources to stay away from those things than to try to undo once you get, like I said, because once you're recovering for life. And then the other one I'll say this is the value that can be found in everyone.
Absolutely.
And so no matter what you've done, where you are, what your station in life is, there you have value and you have something that you can contribute. And if anybody's ever seen me and my wife out, you know we throw down a mean swing dance. We also do a little bit of Chicago step. We can cha-cha. You know, we own every dance floor we ever come near. So that is a great way for couples to get out and do a little something, shake a little something, Pete. You know,
try to learn it with this cane I got for this bad knee.
Yeah, 3 legs is better than 2. So
all right, we want listening audience. Look, be honest. Our community is becoming numb to things that normally all Americans would take hold of. 911 is an example.
You mean become numb to the fact that it's happening?
Right,
are you reflecting on those students you were talking to?
Well, not only because when I talk to students, I find out one of the best things that educate me is don't lead them into what you think you want to hear from them. Let them tell you what they think.
Now you say that like it's just automatic, but that's tough, Pete, because first of all, a lot of young folks speak a different kind of language. You know, their language is different, and oftentimes we adults are conditioned to just talking to them, not listening. Yeah. We talk and we move on, and y'all do you want to do what I just said. You know, the old do what I say.
But that is changing. It's being forced because some of the kids are realizing now that if they don't straighten this thing out and stop worrying about how many buds they can show in their hand on Facebook or social media, the big fat blunts and all like that, that they're going to slide into a system worse than segregation because of the psychological mindset.
But
you know what I mean?
All right, well, stay with that for just a moment, because I think this is a nationwide issue. And I don't think it's just with smaller or in the African American community. What you're really pointing to, I think, are the have and the have-nots.
Yeah.
The haves, and when I talk about the haves, I don't just mean material. I mean the ones with access to information, the ones who understand how our society operates, the ones who can influence the decision makers, who will determine the outcome of the systems in America that make it operate. The people that control the school system, that control the political system, that control collection of taxes and the redistribution of wealth in America, and all the economic opportunities that go with that. That's one group. And another group you have that I think are responding to the impacts of those things, but they're not influencing it. The guy with that blunt is not doing one thing to change, develop, or move his society. All he's doing is existing in the parameters that are created that he now is functioning in as long as he can. And until either his other gangbangers take him out, or he gets arrested, or Lord forbid, I mean, you know, something else happens. But those people, Pete, they're not gonna, they're just almost, they're almost collateral damage in what's happening.
Well,
and that's just not in the community. That's nationwide. And what I'm talking to is the expanding growth of the financial holdings of America in one group, and in another group not having access to those financial opportunities, and therefore their life experience is limited.
Well, you're going to have that because in those kind of issues, whether it's COVID, that what you're talking about, financial differences, the whole bit. Remember, it's like a four square. And what I mean by
four square,
explain
four.
What I mean.
Most of our listeners around the country don't know anything about Foursquare. What?
Right,
I know my producer don't know. He's shaking his head and he's just wobbling because he knows nothing about Foursquare. Let's make sure you know about Foursquare. See, I told you, Pete. All right.
Let me make it. I tell you an example that I use with my.
This grown man. He got look at that gray in his beard, and he don't know what Foursquare is.
I use this thing with my little grandson who's over at Williams Magnet, and I said, you know, people say the Earth is round, but you always hear people talk about the four corners of the Earth. So how can they have four corners and be round at the same time? So as we talk about these subjects,
no. I want you to explain Foursquare. We got people who know.
You draw a box, you square it off, and you put a twist on the ball to make sure it stay in, and hope the other guy.
He don't know it. All right, yeah. But hold on. But that's Foursquare is an important. It's like playing Monopoly. It is a incredible parallel to life, because Foursquare has 4 boxes: A, B, C, and D.
Is this what you put on like as on the floor and put chalk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you call it 4 squares. We call it something else.
Okay.
I'm from New York.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
We call it skeletons.
Got yeah.
Okay, I can see
got it.
that.
And you put the clay in the milk top.
All right, hold on. No.
that's
Let me. This is powerful stuff. I'm gonna tell it like it should be told. Foursquare. You draw 4 squares, A, B, and C. The person in A is in charge. He calls the rules. He says whether we gonna do quick pitch, snap back, spins, dead ball. He sets up the rules for the game to be played. And so A serves the ball, he bounces it and bumps it into D. D always gets the ball first. Now D can try to get C out or B out or A out. And if anybody in front of D gets out, the square moves around. Right? So if I spin the ball in the C square, I'm the D guy, ball comes to me, I spin the ball in the C square and C gets put out, D moves up to C. A and B stay where they are. D moves to C, and another person standing in that long line of people moves into the box and gets a chance to play. Now, A and B and C are going to form an alliance because we just going to keep getting D out. So we're going to play together unless somebody wink their eye over at B and C and say, let's get A out, and B, you can be in charge. So you have to watch the game to see who gets in an alliance because the goal is power.
And that's why I talked about it in this instance. When you look at all the issues America is facing now, a lot of people have taken a 4-square approach, and you ask me what I mean by that. Well, let's look it over. Look at the A, illusions, okay? The B is illusions. The C is fantasies, and the D are dreams. So when you look at the COVID issue, for an example, among the black community, they're when they look at illusions, or when they look at their dreams, they go back in history and find out, or they think that a lot of dreams was struck out, wiped off the board because of the Tuskegee experiment. Okay. Then when you look at the illusion part of it, they take it further and say, hey, it's just an illusion because there's no track record of this is going to slow up our death rate if we take it or whatever. They take the position that we're going to die anyway, and we go from there. And so you got this thing. Now go to the thing about 911. Before it happened, or even during when it happened, people assumed that it was an illusion or it was a fantasy. When they woke up, they realized it was not a fantasy. It actually occurred. All right. So then you go to this thing further about income inequality. The false premise that, hey, if you make all this money, things going to get better in your community. Well, that's the dream, but the reality of that is that those who make money in our community that look like me and you, they take their money and leave the community. So it's just an illusion.
Well, it's not. Well, hold on, though, Pete. Though.
So I'm just saying as an example.
Let me start. The first thing is, it's not community money. That's the first piece of it. It could be because, and I'm surprised a person, a good standing Republican, would even intimate that kind of a socialist concept.
Well, I see. I'm a Republican, but I look at how do we reinforce the foundation in order to sustain and maintain a viable black neighborhood.
Oh, it's not okay.
Okay?
But you presume.
can do both.
But there's
You
a
can do
presumption. There's a presumption that was part of some plan, desire, structure, and it has never been that. It just may have materialized, like a dump. That's where people put their garbage. But we didn't plan to actually have a dump over here. It's kind of developed. and not to say that the black community is a dump. I'm just saying though, the presumption is that what we have around America in these were planned to have a certain demographic. They weren't. Most of them were planned to not have a certain demographic, and so the outcropping of redlining and things of that nature was wherever you may go, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, wherever you may go in America, you will have found that certain people drifted over here. Now, watch this though. People also wanted to be near other people. So a lot of times when we think about cities where people came to, when we came to Tampa back in the 70s, we came to Tampa, Florida, we weren't looking for a black neighborhood. We were looking for the neighborhood where my uncle and people in our family knew. Mm-hmm. That's what we were looking for. It happened to be that neighborhood was, consistent with the demographics that we were familiar with. So that's
why you got a hodgepodge of the Foursquare approach.
Man, I love
so
Foursquare.
How do you clean it up? But
you can't clean, and you can't think. But Foursquare, you can't clean it up because you need it to function. The guy in A has to take advantage of and get rid of D, and he's got to keep his eye on B because the guy in B wants his spot.
Okay, we're going to be going to a break, but in reality terms of living, what's a better approach? A Foursquare approach or a shuffleboard approach?
Uh-oh.
Which is more violent? The Foursquare approach, which deals with mentality, how you think, or the shuffleboard approach, which you just
shuffleboard is violent, is
okay.
war.
Now you see where I'm going.
Foursquare is politics. We're going to talk about Joe Biden, what Joe Biden is doing to the poor Republic.
Now. All right, so we're going to be heading out in a minute. Well, we're not heading out of here. And we got the number on the board, 813-444-9588. We want to remind our publishers and owners of In Touch magazine and all, we just want to remind you that we gave a hint last week about taking a road trip to Virginia and get some of that Adrian Wright barbecue. It could be cheaper on the train to go, Daryl, because we all get discounts because of our age and whatever. And so make it work, my brother. Let's go to break, and we'll be right back. And no, I'm not saying Pretty Moon or singing it today. I just feel like Lou Rawls today, you know what I mean? All right, we'll be right back on In Touch Radio. Entertainment, news, good looks, everything. What? Oh, I did say good looks. Yeah. All right. All right, we'll be right back.
Listen, that...
For all your national and local entertainment news, not to mention your favorite smooth soul and R&B flavors, log on to the letter N-touchnews.com.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Cancer affects everyone, but minority populations are often hit hardest. Moffitt Cancer Center is working to address the barriers that keep some groups from getting the care they need. African Americans develop cancer at a younger age, have more aggressive cancers, and experience worse outcomes than the general population.
While cancer treatment is evolving with precision medicine, who is being left behind? We know for many decades that some groups experience a greater burden of cancer than others. We can prevent it, we can detect it early. It's very beatable when we find it early. I have worked with cancer patients during their treatment. All cancer patients have courage.
So my treatment was about 18 months. I had 3 cancers and 7 surgeries. But my son told me, like, Mom, you're the strongest person that I know. Moffitt saved my life.
During COVID-19, Moffitt is a safe place for your cancer care. Call now to schedule an appointment.
All right, we're back right on In Touch Radio, reality radio, and that's what we deal with on Saturday morning. We cut short our happy hour on Friday to deal with reality, because after the Casamigos and all that stuff is drained out of you, you gotta make a difference. Everyone is a star here, Clint. Nobody's asked me for an autograph lately, but I know God got my back. As before we left, we were talking about
Foursquare,
and then we phased into shuffleboard, and that's what Joe Biden's got now. If you ever seen shuffleboard play, it's a power game. you have to really push hard with your piece of the clay or whatever to knock out something out of the way.
Shuffleboard, so you got a diamond, you got a triangle at the end with little squares in it. I think it's three,
something like that,
like seven. And the goal is to make your clay dish slide down into one of the squares. Then the other guy slide his, and they can knock you out.
Well, that's what's happening with Joe Biden now. He's playing shuffleboard on a lot of issues. He's being forced to play shuffleboard. I mean, when you look at, just take 911. Ask yourself, 20 years later, I believe it is, people are still pressing the American government to really tell the truth about Saudi involvement in 911, including the people that were hanging out in Sarasota and all. I saw some local commentary on the Arabs that came over and said, hey, we pay you cash for this thing, and they didn't really speak to nobody. Well, they do that in the stores we go into. So they want our money, but they don't want to speak to us or hire. That's another issue, another day. But when you look at, you have to ask yourself, the pressure is stepped up on Biden now. But you got Democrats and Republicans don't want him to really give all the information on what happened in the Saudi Arabia involvement in 911. So you ask yourself, wait a minute, if they were involved in killing American citizens, what is it to hide? Why you protect them? Well, it's money. It's money, it's dirty deeds and stuff like that. So Biden has asked he told his staff to review some stuff, and they're going to let out the least harmful stuff about Saudi Arabia. But nobody's crazy. The Saudis has been involved in all kind of intrigue. But you ask yourself, with all the memorial of 911 20 years later, I believe it's 20 years later, why is America protecting their enemies?
When you say enemies, you're referring to?
Well, Saudi Arabia to me has always been an enemy, simply because it protected the power structure of those who have versus those who don't. We allowed them to. We ignored some of their cultural differences, the way they treat their women and the whole bit,
right?
Because of the financial interest, the money interest, And I've always been told that in the world, the real world of living, power, money, and sex runs the show.
Well, yeah, but if you look at the dynamics of the Middle East and our relation with Saudi Arabia, it is one where it is of great benefit to the United States to maintain a friendly alliance with them. They're one of the most influential countries in that area. But also, I'm a believer of this. I'm all for people's rights and human rights and things of that nature, but there are limitations to what you can tell other people, how they're going to live and all that kind of stuff and what they're going to do. And while we look the other way, we have to look the other way because we have our own human rights issues in America.
Right, but the
you
question
can't point the finger too much. And it was great, I like history. And so I was recently listening to Goering's testimony in the Nuremberg trials after World War II. And one of his defenses was, well, what about the way that the Americans have treated Indians? How isn't that genocide too? What are you talking about? His defense involved comparing what the Nazis did to some of the things that America's done. So we have to be careful when we march up to other countries and start talking human rights. And real quickly, we're gonna get back to Biden real quick. When Joe Biden brought up human rights to who's over in charge of Russia? Is it Gorbachev? Not Gorbachev. Putin. You know what he mentioned? Well, what about George Floyd? You got American governments on police shooting black folks. What are y'all doing about that? You need to clean up your house before you come telling me to clean up. So we have a lot to do in America as relates to that.
But you owe it to the victims. If we know with facts, the trust but verify facts, that Saudi Arabia government played an important role in 911 disaster and killed our people.
I would be shocked at that. I wouldn't be surprised if you had Saudi nationals involved, private people involved, those kinds of things. but I don't know the upside value to Saudi Arabia to really bring America down.
Well, maybe Saudi is just buying their time till they get hooked up with China, whatever. Let me remind our listening audience, if you think that the Saudis and all these people really have America's best interests at heart, they don't. They have their best interests at heart first, and then if America can contribute, fine. Otherwise, our country, because we're so divisive within, is becoming a standalone, weakening power. We've turned over a lot of our issues of power to the Chinese has more now. You got North Korea's getting more now. We're becoming, because we're so divisive inside, so it's easy for our enemies to split us up and tear us apart and all. But I don't have faith in governments like Saudi Arabia and all, because of the way, if you look at their history. I give you a good example. The Shah of Iran back in the day, when Iran was Persia and all like that. You look at Venezuela, all those type of countries that Noriega, the whole bit. He trafficked in drugs that was killing our folks, and yet we honored him. And then they gave him some little.
You mean Manuel Noriega?
Yeah, they gave him a light term and all.
Yeah, well, hold on. Well, we understand the reality. If America had a conviction to stopping illegal drugs from coming in America, they'd be stopped. But I don't know that we have that conviction, because somebody's consuming those drugs. They're part of our the black the dark economy in America. So we don't want to stop those drugs. But on this day that we're talking about some of the 9/11 remembrances and the political divisiveness, Pete, America's always been a very, very divided country. It's always been on these two different kind of, here's what we say we are, and then there's this reality over here. You know, we're all about liberty and freedom, and then we do these things to people. We're all about economic opportunity, and then we put barriers in place for those who don't have these things to get these things. But I thought, and politically, you know, people have been beaten and shot, and I had duels and McCarthyism, and
it's a big difference. I tell young people when they ask me, hey, Mr. Pete, where you think we headed? And I tell them, we're headed to either a neo-Nazi type authoritative government that Trump and the evangelical Christians are using, or they're also using a return to post-Reconstruction America, where black people had to pass the test to vote, read, and all like that. Or we better make up our mind, are we going to get together more stronger than we ever been before to deal with issues like affordable housing, high price of medications, the whole bit. And I keep it real with that, because when you look at what's been transpiring the last, even actually before Obama got in, it was there. And then when Obama got in, you saw the evils really come out.
I thought he did absolutely bring that out.
Yeah,
but I know
it's a good thing in a way, but we're in trouble, and I cannot sit and talk with young people and say to them that we're headed to a better, stronger America. We're not. We're digressing rather than being progressing. So I'm gonna stick with that, and I think in 5 years or less,
I can't imagine. I can't imagine what we saw with George Floyd, Pete, was nothing compared to what happened in the summer of 1968. Not even close.
Okay.
Not even remotely close to that. What we're seeing that African Americans deal with now in America in general, it was nothing compared to what was dealt with leading into and during the Civil Rights Movement. Then you move back economically. You go from just after World War I and all the way up to World War II. America's GDP was almost, stagnant almost to a certain point, and absolutely was that way throughout the 1930s. So the economic oppression was even more profound. Now I think we're more connected as a nation through electric mediums and things of that nature. Information is much more readily available, and the route to getting out of a I guess economic disadvantage, Pete, is only one generation away. And I'll say this.
It's an illusion. You go back to the Four Corners. It's an illusion. Coming in today on the Interstate 275, getting off on Hillsborough, I see where they're building a new house, and somebody has marked on the bricks already before the house is even halfway completed, in big letters, gentrification.
Yeah, but hold on, stop for a minute though. But we gentrified East Tampa and West Tampa. There was somebody there. We decided those are neighborhoods we liked and wanted to move into them. So we have to look at stuff
We're in trouble. I can tell you.
I don't know that gentrification is not trouble. It's just growth and transition.
But I mean, all the other issues, we're in trouble because we can't get new coalition. Even rural areas that don't have, the band stuff that they don't have the band where they can get high tech stuff and.
You mean the internet and all that stuff out there?
Well, we can't get, we can't even get with them to make it better for everybody. The prescription, high prices of prescriptions.
But you sound more and more like you went from Republican.
No, this
you
is
on the left of the Democrats.
This is true
Let's get this break in. We're going to rehabilitate Pete's Republican credentials when we come back.
They for real. We don't like the other people that's hiding under the Reagan and Lincoln traditional Republican. Shout out to the Bucks. Shout out to the ladies that play kickball right down the street from the station.
The ladies, baby.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good kick. And these the same New Yorker. These are the same ladies that they didn't want to play kickball at Riverfront Park. Can you imagine that? Remember the controversial issues on that? So we'll be right back. Go to break, and maybe Anna will bring in some donuts or something for or another quote for the week from a soul sister soldier. All right, we'll be right back.
I didn't know they were playing.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and during the week, I'm affectionately known as the Medicare lady. Do not try to navigate Medicare without me. Please call me at 813-476-4837. I also do life insurance, and I will help people who are Medicare Medicaid. Once again, 813-476-4837. 4837.
Jacobs Production, in partnership with Trinity City of Praise and the African American Family Institute, presents a musical play, 10 Boys and One Girl, coming soon to the David A. Strauss Jr. Center for the Performing Arts, 1010 North Mercedes Place, Tampa, Florida, September the 18th, 2021. 2 p.m. matinee show, 7:30 p.m. late show, $25 general seating, VIP seating $50. You don't want to miss this powerful performance, a story of a man and woman raising 10 boys, 1 girl, through trial and obstacles. With resilience, faith, and love, they made it. Directed by Nate Jacobs of the West Coast Black Theater Troupe. Musical director Davon Jameson of Jacksonville, Florida. Tickets can be found at the Strass Center box office. For more information, call 813-229-7827. 10 Boys, 1 Girl, family strong.
All right, we're back for our final segment of In Touch Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. God got you. And before we were going off the air, we asked our other producer, Miss Anna, to give us
Princess Anna. You put a title on that.
Well, see, I get in trouble with myself when I do that. So I'm playing recovered. I'm playing conservative Republican, Miss Anna. But anyway, I asked her for a thought today, and seriously, brothers, it's a good one. And she said, treat black women like you treat God. And why it's so important with all of the divisiveness in our country and the whole bit. The more we respect our women,
yes,
the more they have our back. And when we do right with our black women, then they help us create better ideas for the future. It's a teamwork approach. Sometimes I had a class one time. I taught inmates returning back from the system about relationships, and we talked about the CFL approach. What was that? Confidant, friend, and lover. And I reminded the guys, the lover aspect may not be as it was before you left, because people move on or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if you really respect the black woman, and you respect them as being the mother of your children, and you respect them as being leaders in the community, getting our kids ready and everything else, then try to make sure that you remain a true, honest confidant of her and an honest friend. Now, what does that mean? That means you got to take some hits when your act ain't together. You know what I'm saying, brothers? You got to do that.
I need some chips and some crackers, some wine. We need a little background.
But I would tell you that the over the years, some of the best quiet confidants I have are women friends. And I remember when I was at FAMU, I had a lady that I was just bothering her about, well, you go home every weekend, give me your meal book. And she said to me, and she was older, working on a master's degree at the time. She said, okay, little freshman, I'm going to give you my meal book. But I'm going to teach you how to be a better man than that game you just tried to run on me. And I didn't understand it as much in my freshman year than I did my senior year. Right. Because I realized that the black woman is a part of making you bring out the best in you.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate Anna for that. And it works both ways. But I think brothers got to understand, if you in a position as a preacher where you quote in the Bible, the man leads, well, doggone it, act like it. And if you go through the Bible, you always had women supporters.
But
you know what I mean?
Right, so but in our community, I'll say this though: you can look around the room next time you're at one of these community events, activities, and things of that nature. The black women far outnumber the black men engaged in that. Now, I would say this though: the black men sitting under the tree outnumber the women. I got more. I mean, the more I can tell you right. I can go right now down to 22nd Street. I'm gonna take a left, go right past Popeyes. And you're going to say, see, there's going to be a crowd of brothers sitting outside ice cream, waiting on the turkey legs to get hot. I can drive right on down to 34th and get the Jacksons, and there's going to be a group of black men sitting under a tree back in there. I'm just saying that you're absolutely correct about that dynamic. Now,
women are welcome down there more so than they welcome us, but it's a play where you have to have a partnership, particularly when we're looking ahead.
If we're going to do the confessions of Pete, what you want to confess? What I mean is, want to confess to the people?
No, here's what I mean about that. We got so much divisiveness. We even got so much divisiveness in social status.
But those are functions, right? But that's
so
not.
We need the sisters.
There is a absolute function of that from our perspective of each other, and that permeates all of our economic.
Everything.
Stratuses that we have, all of that kind of stuff. Now, I can't let you off the hook, though. We only got a little bit of time, as I got to rehabilitate your Republican bona fides here, because every day you sound you sound to the left of me sometimes.
Well, what's wrong with Republicans keeping it real? See, at the end of the day,
I'll tell you, let's get the real part then. Stop calling yourself Republican if you're not.
Well, no, for me, as a Republican, I've stated.
I don't even know what that means. What does a Republican mean?
Well, when you look at so from a black perspective, honest black Republican perspective would be, hey, you know what? Before everybody in our neighbor, we ask for everybody from outside to clean up our neighborhood. We clean it up. We cut back.
Well, first of all, I think that's not Republican. Because Republicans talk about individual responsibility, and that would say I clean up my property.
Well, that is if you look at it. Remember, individual responsibility in the black community has a more expansive meaning, and what I mean by that, we use the term "it takes a whole village to raise a child."
That's so. That's a Democrat. That is not a Republican principle, though.
Yeah, it is.
No. Republicans don't even talk about a village. They talk about my hut. I'm at my hut. and what's in my hut's mine, and what's in your hut, you need to worry about what's in your hut. And if you work hard enough, you'll have whatever you want to have in your hut. Forget that I own all the land and I have all the cows and everything that goes to making your land profitable. I have control of all of it. That's Republican to me.
Why do you think, as a reflective moment, why do you think HBCUs are coming back stronger?
You know, it's interesting
because we're trying to.
Now let's point, because I just experienced. I have a son at a PWI, and my daughter's at HBCU. Okay, and it's interesting. They came out the same household, same life experience, same church. One of them was adamant, I'm going over here. The other one was adamant, I am going over here. And part of it, I think, is my daughter wants that neighborhood experience she's heard us talk about we had growing up, and she didn't have that. But you did a good job of distraction today, because I was going to beat up on Donald Trump doing boxing today, and why the Republicans...
I understand they canceled that. I'm not sure.
Well, they better can't. Come on, baby.
Evander Holyfield, he's an OG player, not a boxer anymore, you know? So it's the thing. But we want to remind our listening audience, it takes all of us. Don't never underestimate your work. If it's positive, if it's creative, if it's sustaining, if you can sit on the porch in your rocking chair, or even if you grow your own natural herbs in the backyard, you can look out front and tell the story and see the growth of your work with the kids coming behind you. Not only that, but those who are seeking quiet supporters and active reporters for their recovery.
Yes.
See, addiction to me is beyond just drugs. You can be addicted to a personality where you think it's all about you and nobody put you in a position to be where you think you are. That's an illusion. So you got to go through all those kind of addiction moments. And one thing about In Touch, when you look at the In Touch radio news, particularly the paper,
diaspora,
you see in the paper the difference of opinions and all, but the common goal is to refortify and strengthen our community. You can't ask others to join in for you if we can't get others within our community to join in together. It'd be for a minute, a photo op or something, and then that's it. So whatever Foursquare is or whatever the New York style of it is what it is. Clint?
Well, Pete, listen, I listen, an exceptional job today, because I was going to hammer you on the success of Joe Biden's speech this week and how he is rallying everybody to get their vaccines and showing leadership, how Afghanistan is no longer an issue, because it really never was an issue once we got our troops out of there. And Donald Trump was going to do a boxing match, but now, that's been canceled. So we'll live with that, and hopefully next week I will be more assertive in keeping you on track so that we can have you back up. Why are these Republicans doing some of the things that they're doing that I think are leading to the divisive things that you're concerned about?
We have no true sustaining opposition to what we're doing. I'm just saying. So see you next week, everybody. We want you to have a good time. I'm going out to Perry Harvey Park today. They got black vendors all over the place.
Yes, yeah.
Small black vendors and all. And the single brother got to eat where he can, as long as the price is right. So you got to do that. But send in your letters, emails. Let us know how we're doing. And let us know some topics you think we ought to speak about, including on Facebook. I'll shave next week, maybe. But anyway, what you see with me is what you get. Republican is just a part of me. That's all I got to say.
All right, catch you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Call in and tell a friend to listen in. Listen up. It's In Touch Radio, reality radio.
You've been injured. You deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Program aired early.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong with Tampa Bay Politics. And not only can you catch us on InTouchNews.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m., we now have a website at TampaBayPoliticsPodcast.com. We are on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Stitcher, which you can log in at any time and listen to Tampa Bay